If you have ever felt like your mission is absolutely incredible, but your messaging just doesn't do your organization and your impact justice, then hear me out. You've got to listen to this episode. Now, I don't know about you, but no one ever sat me down and told me or taught me the basics of storytelling and really how to pull people in. But the good news is that if that is you, we are going to chat about that exact thing today. Storytelling 101 for nonprofits. Hi, I'm Kelly and welcome to the Nonprofit Marketing Club, where we keep marketing super real and realistic and sustainable for your nonprofit. Today, we are diving into Storytelling 101 for nonprofits. I'm going to share exactly how you can shift your messaging from confusing to clear, self-focused to community-driven, and from passive to action-inspiring. We'll be pulling in a little bit of StoryBrand magic, but with a little bit of a twist. I want to show you how you can tweak your storytelling to avoid the Saviour complex trap and build a real sense of community around your cause. So if you're ready, let's do this. Let's kick this off by clarifying something. Storytelling is not just a nice to have in your nonprofit, but is actually how humans connect. We tell stories. And when we confuse people or make a story all about us, people tune out. And not because they don't necessarily care, but probably because they don't see a way that they can jump into or be part of the story. So let's talk how to flip that, starting right now. So here's the thing, a lot of nonprofit messaging sounds something like this. We've been around for 25 years. We've run 12 programs across 5 countries and 20 different sectors. We need your support to continue our incredible work. And listen, bless, I get it. We're proud of our work. We want people to see the scale of our impact and the scale of our work. But here's the thing. No one really wakes up in the morning and wants to know about your nonprofit's board structure or really cares about how long you have been around. I've come across far too many nonprofits where I need a PhD to understand what exactly they do. People don't have time to play marketing detective. They need clear, fast, I know exactly what you're asking me to do kind of messaging. So people don't care about your board structure. What is it that they actually care about? They want to know where they fit in. How can they actually make a tangible difference? And how does this change something that I care about? And if your messaging isn't clear, emotional, or action-driven, people are just going to scroll past. And not because they don't care, but because it's not obvious why they should care. So back in 2020, I stumbled across an audiobook on StoryBrand. Shout out to Donald Miller. And honestly, it made so much sense. It unlocked so much for me as a marketer, being able to communicate what my clients or my nonprofits that I work with actually do. And here's a super simplified version of StoryBrand. I definitely recommend going and reading the book or giving it a listen. The audiobook is absolutely phenomenal. So the simplified version for nonprofits goes something like this. Your supporter is the hero and your nonprofit is the guide. And there's a clear problem and a plan to overcome it. Think about any good story. Harry Potter, he doesn't do it alone. He's got Dumbledore. Katniss has Haymitch. Luke Skywalker has Yoda. And the point is, the hero faces a big challenge and it's up to the guide to help them overcome it and win. And here's how this applies to your nonprofit. You are not the hero. Your nonprofit is not the hero in the story. Your supporter is the hero. And when you make this tiny shift, your messaging gets so much easier and people actually start leaning in. But here is the twist. In the nonprofit world, we have to be a little bit cautious about the donor is the hero thing. Because what can happen when we do that is that we lean too hard into that, the donor being the hero, we can accidentally make it sound like the people we serve are victims or that they're helpless and that donors are riding in on a white horse to save the day. We don't want that, especially in our storytelling and how we communicate about what we do and how we do it and the impact that we create. Instead, I'd encourage you to take a community-centric approach to your storytelling, where donors are partners, not saviors, and communities of agency and power. And together we are working to make change happen. It's a subtle but a critical shift. And honestly, it leads to stronger relationships with our donors and more impact down the line. All right, let's get tactical. Let's talk about 5 practical steps you can use to strengthen and clarify your messaging. I wanted to go from confusing to compelling. That's the aim here. The first step is to make your audience the hero, but to frame them as partners. One way you can do this is to use more you language instead of we language. Another way you can do this is by showing supporters their role in change. But we want to center this on dignity and not dependency. So instead of something like, because of you, Maria was saved, try, together we helped Maria open a door to a new life. You can begin to see the difference. It's way more empowering for the people that we are working with. The second step to clarifying and strengthening your messaging is to define the problem clearly and emotionally. So spell it out. Don't make people guess. You can break it down into 3 different parts: external, internal, and philosophical. The first one, external, what is happening? For example, families are facing eviction. Internal would look like, how does it feel? An example of this, no parent should feel helpless. And the third part, philosophical, why does it even matter? An example of this, everyone deserves a safe place to call home. By defining the problem clearly and emotionally, you can begin to paint a picture of what the actual challenge is and invite people to step into it. The third step you can take in clarifying and strengthening your message is to position your nonprofit as the guide, not as the star. You're not the hero. You're not the Yoda. Show that you understand the problem and that you know what works to solve it. You're demonstrating 2 things, empathy and authority. So what could this actually practically look like? Let me give you an example. We know how heartbreaking it is to feel helpless. That's why we connect families with safe housing and fresh starts. Another example for you. If you lead with empathy, we understand how overwhelming this feels. The second one, building authority. We've helped over 5,000 students find success. You can begin to see how you can position your nonprofit as the empathetic guide that understands the problem, but also has the authority, the know-how to fix that specific challenge. The fourth step is to offer a simple and clear action plan. In this step, you want to spell out exactly how people can take action in a very simple and clear way. We're not talking about 14 steps people need to take before they see impact. Keep it short and sweet and super simple. In fact, I want you to try and spell it out in 3 steps max. So if your supporter wants to help tackle the challenge that you have just highlighted as the guide, you're giving them a clear action plan that they can follow to be a part of the solution. What could this look like? For example, an action plan could look like donate today, sponsor monthly, become a volunteer. If you keep it super simple, super straightforward, people will have a clear action plan of what they can do next. But as soon as you ask them to open another tab, get out their wallet, use a captcha code, they're not going to do it. The 5th step that you can take in clarifying and strengthening your message is to use strong, impact-driven calls to action. When I talk about calls to action, I don't necessarily mean donate now. While donate now is fine, it's just kind of there, it doesn't quite stop the scroll. Give a child their first day of school, now that is powerful. I want you to try and tie in every call to action with a transformation. That could look like give a child the gift of education, help a family find a safe place to call home, bring clean water to a community today. And if your donation button still says submit, I want you to have a look at that. How can you transform it into a statement that is connected to transformation, connected to that impact? For example, give a community clean water, or sponsor a child's first day of school. You want your call to action to connect to the outcome of that donation super clearly and in an emotional way. So you've made your audience the hero, but framed them as a partner. You've defined the problem clearly and emotionally. You've positioned yourself as the guide, but not the star. And you've given your supporters a clear action plan that they can take to be part of the solution, using strong call to actions that are impact driven. You have just clarified and strengthened your messaging. If you take nothing else from today, Clarity over cleverness wins every single time. You don't have to be fancy with your messaging. You don't have to write like a poet. You just have to tell the right story and invite people to be a part of it. If you want help mapping out your core messaging, I've created a core messaging guide in the Nonprofit Marketing Strategy Kit. It'll walk you through exactly how to build a real marketing plan, how to define and shape your core messaging, and how to track the effectiveness of your marketing. I'll drop the link in the description for you to grab that, the Nonprofit Marketing Strategy Kit. All right. That's it for today. Go and tell amazing stories. Start defining your stories based on you not being the hero, but rather your supporter, being the partner in championing your beneficiaries. Name the problem, show people how they can be part of the solution, and then call them to action. This is your storytelling framework that I want you to start using in all of your marketing communications. That is it for today. I hope you liked this episode. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you thought, or if you use StoryBrand in your storytelling. I definitely recommend the book. I've linked it in the description if that's something that you want to get your hands on. Would highly recommend it. It lays such a brilliant foundation, goes deeper into what I've just spoken about today. And remember, don't position your donors or your supporters as the hero, but rather a partner. We don't want to be encouraging any kind of savior complex, but rather inviting people to partner with us, to partner with communities and individuals themselves in seeing change. Until next time, keep doing amazing work, and I will see you in the next episode.